watching this, you figured it out. We are actually strategically partnering. Levinson Real Estate is strategically partnering with EXP as an EXP brokerage. And so that's the big announcement. That's the Band-Aid pull. Now, I want to explain to people some reasons why and what brought us to this. I wanted them part of this dialogue, so I wanted to share this. And here's why we're doing it live, right? The first time that Tara and I but it was pretty, we were talking about this, and Mike and we were like, oh, you have to, we part of the process is this. And I was like, I'm not really big on, like, I like doing live videos, but I'm not like big announcements. But then I was telling them some funny stories. The first time that Tara and I switched brokerages, we were with Coldwell Banker, that's where we started. And we had a lot of business going on there. I think when Tara left Coldwell Banker, she was like 22nd with Coldwell Banker. She had a ton of listings, a lot of business. And so we wanted to be respectful to the brokerage and let her kind of work through that business. So I switched over to Keller Williams first for about a month and a half. And Tara got a ton of phone calls from people thinking we were getting divorced. Like, oh my goodness, getting divorced. I'm pretty sure a couple of people asked her out because like, hey girl, you single now? And she's like, no. so we were like,
disclaimer,
okay, disclaimer, right? So no, we're still together, we're still married. Love her, she's the love of my life, and I'm the love of hers. She has to be because I'll chase her the rest of her life. And then. But then when we created our own independent brokerage, I was telling Mike and Moody this, that we thought we want to be very respectful to the leadership at Keller Williams. They had helped us out, they were part of our growth, and so we didn't want them to create like this drama of like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Like this whole drama of moving. And so we thought, we'll just kind of like pass in the night. We'll just kind of do it, and then we'll just start doing business. And then what happened, that created this vacuum. And so then it's been like the next 6 months, every time somebody would have the nerve to call me, explain to them, no, the leadership was amazing over there. We still have a lot of respect for them, and we communicate still. And so I realized that when you don't say something, people start making up stuff. It's kind of like that video I made yesterday where people say that to be on our team, you must work out. I finally had to address that because I'm interviewing somebody, and they're like, so I want to join your team, and I like to work out, but do I have to? And we're like, no. I don't know who started this crazy rumor. But anyway, so that kind of what brings us to why we're doing this live. So I appreciate everybody. And I have told a few people, which brings us to the next question, which they asked me is, what made you make this decision? Right? And
because we know it wasn't a light decision by any means.
That's after like 8 years conversation.
Yes, I've known Mike and Rudy for a very, very long time. I think I remember when one of your rentals got vandalized and people drew a bunch of stuff all over it.
Yeah, memory.
And I remember about 2 years ago, if you don't know, some people know the story, but Moody would always call and he's like, hey, let me tell you about eXp. And I'm like, Moody, if we're going to hang out and you're going to call me, you cannot talk to me about eXp ever again.
He said, okay.
He said, okay. I said, okay. Then you keep coming to my 4th of July parties, which are the best thing in the world.
They are. They're a lot of fun.
And so we keep hanging out. So it wasn't that, and what kind of actually led to it was the decision. Well, before I get into that decision process, there are 3 questions, and so life is always happening for you, never to you. And Tara and I, about 3-4 months ago, we completely stepped out of our business for about 3 weeks. And a lot of people don't know that, but people in the business didn't even know we were gone. We had a family member who had gotten sick and needed special treatment, and there was a hospital in Mexico that actually treated, and we have a friend who went there who, he was given like 6 months to live. They basically told him, you're dead.
Wow.
You're dead, so go. And that was 7 years ago. He got cancer-free, healed, and so when our family member got sick, Tara reached out to him and said, hey, can you tell me more about this? And he pulled some strings. Because he does promotional work for them because he believes so much in what they do. They saved his life. And so we found out like, hey, in 3 days, she can get in.
Whoa, wow.
And so, Tara and I have a lifestyle that, we were able to step out. So, it was in Tijuana. This is nothing against Tijuana, but it is the murder capital of the world. That's a statistic. And so Tara was like, I'm going to go stay in the hospital with this person. And it's 24 hours. I said, well, I'm going to go. And she's like, well, no, you don't have to. Like, you're not going to Tijuana by yourself. And it wasn't a good area of Tijuana, but still, I'm like, it's still Tijuana.
Right.
But for 3 weeks, we completely stepped out of our business. and maybe had a couple of phone calls. And when we came back, stepped into it, I was sitting in my office and I'm looking at the numbers, and we're still running 21% ahead of the market. The market's up 9%. We're up 30% over last year. So
Wow.
I look at it, you know, what's the difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow, our business is phenomenal. You know, we've got X amount of homes pending. We've got closings are happening, and everything was going. I didn't walk into an office full of drama. I didn't walk into a bunch of mail that had to be answered and angry. No, everything's like, it was like I'd never left.
The systems in place.
Yeah.
Everything.
Right.
Well, but it's also the team, the support, and everything that we had. And Tara and I, the question Tara and I were always asking is, how do one day do we retire? Which everyone should be asking that question.
Mm-hmm.
And it really drew upon the question, which was the other thing, was how do we create that for our team? And I've always asked that question, and I've tried to find ways. But as I sat there in my office, I realized I'm the only one, Tara and I, for the most part, that had that opportunity. I stepped out of the business for 3 weeks and nothing changed. And I know that there are agents who are with me, who've been with me, who just joined me, that if they stepped out for 3 weeks were out of commission, they would literally be out of commissions.
Right.
And then they would have to come back, and they would be 3 weeks,
Start
4 weeks.
over.
And, yeah, they have to start their business all
All
over.
over.
Right.
And
Even
I-
vacation, they
yeah.
pay for it twice, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, every vacation, you know, let alone a family emergency that they were, you know, and so it was haunting me, you know. And then on a side note, we have an independent brokerage. We have a brokerage with Tara's team. Then we have an independent brokerage with other agents that, you know, broker both. And so I'm always looking for the right model too. I've checked so many models every time Inman, like, a new brokerage came out and so. I'm like, oh, let's research your model. We've changed our personal brokerage model independent 4 times because making tweaks.
You're agile.
I'm constantly drive innovation, you know, embrace change, drive innovation. So it's core about that. It's also an excuse when we constantly change things, still change. Where's your core value? So, but then I got a phone call from Hamudi, who said, hey man, you want to see Tony Robbins?
I like the accent.
Yeah, that's my other favorite accent, that's Hamudi. So, and he said, it's not recruiting. He said, hang out, you'll see it, you know. And so I was like, yeah, that sounds fun.
You said yes.
I did.
I got excited actually. Because you said, hey, can you come to Dallas this week to Tony Robbins?
It was like the week
And he
before.
said, yes, let me check with Tara. I'm okay with that. I said, wow.
Well, we were platinum partners with Tony Robbins, so we were
Right.
part of a lot of his smaller mastermind groups and stuff like that. And Tony hasn't really done a lot of live events in like 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, he's just now getting back into them. So I'm like, oh, what, 6 hours hearing Tony Robbins talk about real estate? I'm in.
Of course, yeah.
You know, and so you guys, you know, got us a hotel, stuff like that, and like we were like, wow, nobody ever does that for us. We're all excited, and I'll be honest with y'all, I showed up late. Tara and I kind of worked, and then we got there, and I went to the gym, worked
You
out.
missed the happy hours too.
Well, I went to the gym, which is my happy hour. And then
Like,
Tara,
where are you?
yeah, Tara and I were at dinner, and yelled, hey, what's going on? And I was like, wow, I felt kind of like an a-hole. So, you know, and so we were going to pop into, you know, we knew it was an EXP event, but you know, there'll be some training, education, and you can never stop learning.
Right. Put on by EXP.
It was. It's put on by
It's
EXP.
open to everyone.
Yeah, it's open to everyone. It's put on by EXP, but open forum, I guess. So, but as I was sitting there with no intention of ever joining EXP, I just wanted to learn, you know, what's the new strategies, what's coming out in the market, what are y'all doing? You know, because I'm an outsider, like I go to other people's conferences to see what they're up to,
Yeah.
and then I'm at lunch and I'm telling Tara, I'm like, hey, I'm having a problem. She's like, what? I'm like, I feel like they're answering questions that I've been asking myself about brokerage models and taking care of your agents and legacy and building legacy. And then by the end of that day, I was like, I think I have a big problem, you know, because I'm really, so Tara's like, you know, we're talking about this, and she's like, yeah, it's the same thing. It's like, you know, this is answering all the questions. We've heard speakers talk about different things, and you know, and so we went to the Tony Robbins event, listened to Tony Robbins, and then I don't know if it was that day or a couple days later, I called you and I said, hey, weird, I think we're about 90% convinced that this is what we want to do.
I know exactly what it was because I had just gotten to our house in Puerto Rico and I was
Okay.
like walking in the door and I was like, I think I go, really?
Well,
I told Mike, I invite him. I'm not trying to recruit you. We've been a long time, don't see you guys.
And we knew you liked Tony
We
Robbins,
just have
too.
a drink.
Yeah.
I said, I don't want to talk to him about the EXP. Just go have a drink.
how
and
hard
have
was
fun.
that for you to not want to talk to me about EXP?
I've been working on it, you know, because I care about. If you get a phone call from me, because I really care about you.
Okay.
I want to share the opportunity.
See,
Passionate.
so here's the practice in the mirror. You are the Moody. You don't talk about EXP to Peter.
Hold it in.
So, but yeah, and I said it was 90%. I said there's a few things that I wanted to know first, right? And so, I built like this giant power. I taught myself. I'm a teacher by nature. Is what my passion is. And so, I built like this whole PowerPoint. I kept going. I pulled slides. I pulled other people's slide decks. I found other people who had talked about it. I went to different websites and I built like this 25-page PowerPoint slide that I taught myself. Essentially, 'cause there was lots of videos out there, obviously.
Right.
But when I started going through the revenue share model and how it works, my first question is like, okay, there's no way it's a scam, it's a pyramid scheme, it's this, that, and the other. First, I reverse engineered it. How does a company make money?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I was like, okay, that makes sense. What are other people outside of the industry saying about EXP as a company? The people who just evaluate real estate companies. Okay, that makes sense. And then I went into like, how does it really support the agents? And I brought a couple of my agents in and talked to them. And the biggest thing that hit me is I'm not a recruiter, right? And if you hear EXP, you don't think. Unfortunately, there's like this misnomer that people are like, oh, I'm joining EXP. It's like, oh, you're like recruiting people. It's like that's like joining the Marine Corps to be a recruiter. It's like, nah, it's like
Right.
it's there to sell real estate. And so I don't want to be a recruiter. But then I looked at my business, and we have 58 agents either on our team or on our independent side combined. Of the 58 people, only like 19 of them either did Tara and I directly connect with.
Connected.
Yeah, they came through my other agents.
Mm-hmm.
They came through agents like, hey, you should get real estate, or hey, this, you should really find out about this, or it came that way. So I realized that in that model, the agents are already doing it, and it went back to the person who was really benefiting. This is, I felt I won't say selfish, but it was kind of like, wow, every time that somebody else brings somebody to my brokerage, we had a type of revenue share, like they had in the system, but I was the beneficiary. I was one, and then
the owner.
yeah, and when they had questions, I would talk to them like, yeah, I had a contract question. I was like, oh, why did you give me a call? Why didn't you call me? It's like, well, I didn't want to bother you, but Rhonda kind of, since she kind of helped me come over here, I just called Rhonda, and so Rhonda's answering questions, Sean's answering questions, Ron's answering questions, Nathan's asking questions. They're all the people that they help join our brokerage. That's who they're going to.
Right.
And then when they're teaching and training, and then when we like to teach other people, and then afterwards people would talk to them, and then they would say, yeah, I love your education. I think I want to join your brokerage, and they would, and I was like, sweet, that helps me.
Right.
But it wasn't helping them.
Right.
And so that's why I came back to like, okay, this model makes sense. It's stuff that really agents are doing every day.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely. Well, and here's how I look at it. It's, if you go to a good restaurant, you're going to tell all your friends about it. And that's why I think outside looking in, people look at EXP agents that way, because you'll hear EXP agents say it's life-changing, and that's not something you typically hear from other real estate brokerages. So the reality is they're excited, they want to share the opportunity, and also the reality is over 88% of our agents are focusing solely on production. So it is a misconception, and it's one of those things where I always like to say equal opportunity, different results.
Yes.
So it's not a top-down type of thing, and I think it's a very, if you don't mind me sharing this, it's very unselfish, honestly, as a broker, and that's why a lot of broker owners look at this model, is because now they're like, well, I couldn't divide up my company before. Now I can give ownership back to the agents. I can offer stock through different ways. If they, we already know that your agents have connections in other states, other countries potentially, and so now they can start benefiting from that as well, let alone from the technology and the training and all of that support. But I look at it as brokers almost take a step back and say, I want to give the same opportunity to our agents, and I think that's wonderful, honestly.
Well, I'm excited about it. Like I said, I didn't, when I started talking to our agents, having one-on-one conversations, sharing my thoughts, and he's like, oh, I'm dual licensed in Colorado, and I want to expand. I know people who would love to do this and expand over there, and I have my license in here, and one of our agents on our Spanish-speaking division, she's like, oh, I know agents in Mexico, they can do this too. We're like, and I didn't know this. Like these are all, they already have all these different connections. They just, could I get to? That's why I told Tara when we were discussing this. I said, could we grow our brokerage to 50 states in 5 to 10 years? Absolutely. Could we get out of the country in 5 to 10 years? Well, yeah. It's not lighting the candle on both ends. It's lighting the whole damn thing on fire, right? I mean, I'm gonna have to work again like when I was 30. I'm gonna start pulling some 24-hour shifts and everything else. or we can strategically partner with a brokerage
They have the tools and the right.
that has the technology, that has all the different things. I get to, and that's one of the things is like about us is we're still keeping our values, we're keeping our systems and processes. I like that it's a cloud-based company that's everywhere, because it reduces their debt as a company, which lets them do what they can do.
Right.
But I'm still building a 12,000 square foot training office building.
Yeah.
Like I'm
It's your choice, yeah.
Yeah, I'm finalizing it. It's gonna have a 3,000 square foot training room. It's gonna have offices down below, because I still think real estate is a face-to-face. You can't. I think I'm one of the few agents. Maybe I'm the one like swimming down upstream or whatever it's called. Because I think real estate's a face-to-face business.
Right.
And I think,
Relationship.
yeah, it's about relationships, and it's about relationships with your clients. And I personally think that in order to properly train an agent on how to do the business, you can't teach someone virtually how to do something they have to do in person.
Right.
And so that's why. And when I found out, like, oh, I'm still going to have my building, and I'm still going to have this, and I can still support I can keep everything that I'm doing.
Yep.
But then add this opportunity for those I lead.
Right.
Then it became a no-brainer once I figured out all the math, because I'm a black hat thinker. So I'm like, what's really going on here?
It seems too good to be true.
Well, yeah,
I hear
it's
that all
just
the
like,
time.
why would Glenn do this? What's he up to? So.
Right.
That's
Well,
what.
you'll see him next week, so you can ask him.
I
for
will.
yourself.
Like, hey, what are we really doing?
Well, and as you know, eXp's expanded outside of the realty side. Now we've got, they acquired Success Magazine. Derek Robbins is the president, who's Tony Robbins' son, so there's a lot of connections there. We've got Success Lending. I think that I saw something about health going on now, which I think is really cool. So it's all full circle. It's become much more than just a real estate.
Well, and then the success coaching was the other thing, because they have a training course that I have 4 agents that I've been coaching to coach, because that's my master's degree. Part of my master's degree is in coaching, life coaching, and so I've been teaching them and helping them get work different things. But when I saw this, I was like, oh my goodness, like they could. Success Magazine, I've been a fan of Success Magazine since Darren Hardy brought it back.
Right.
Fan of Tony Robbins, so he's involved, his son's involved in it, so, and then so the opportunity that they can become they can be trained how to do it and then become success coaching as well, like that's an area for growth for them. They want that, and again, I don't have to create the curriculum, create the website, create this, do that, do this. They can just plug into it. It's like
Platform.
It's like that moving sidewalk at the airport,
Right.
like you're supposed to keep walking, but if you're walking normal speed and the person off is walking normal speed, the person on the sidewalk's gonna get there first,
Right.
right? So, and that's how I felt. Like, I'm like, could I run to catch up to the guy? Yeah, but why run? I can walk, and I can get my agents on it, and they don't have to. They can just get in and go. So, yeah, the success coaching. I got a call with Jarek tomorrow.
Derek Robbins, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
So I have a call with him tomorrow. Got some questions because I think this could be huge. And I'm excited for my agents for that opportunity as well.
Yeah, and I think it's just like you said with the sidewalk. It's always the vehicle, right? You can have nothing against a Mustang, or and then you can have a Ferrari, and at the end of the day, the Ferrari is going to win, right? It's just what kind of vehicle you're in.
Yeah.
But something that's always stuck with us is we've done a lot of Tony Robbins stuff and business mastering thing. I think we saw you guys at
Yeah. We ran into one today. Yeah.
And Tony always talked about, are you a business owner or are you a business operator? And I think in real estate, a lot of times we get in there to own our own businesses. But like you said, typically speaking, if you step away, your business dies instead it grows. Mm-hmm. And so this is truly a way to get agents off that real estate roller coaster. I was talking to one last night. She's like, I'm tired of the roller coaster. And it's just that constant cycle. And so now you can have ownership. You can have the ability to expand. You don't have to, but you can. Mm-hmm. The opportunity's there, amongst other things. And I just think, I know for you guys with the legacy building that you want to do for your agents, it's going to be an incredible platform. And that's what it is. Nothing changes, right, with LRE.
No, nothing
other
changes.
Other than you've now adapted another platform.
We have more opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's really the big thing. And again, why I did the live is because the few people that I talked to in between, they were like, oh man, really? And I'm like, yeah. And so I just wanted this opportunity to sit down, make an announcement, no false narrative. Terry and I are still together.
It's for real.
You heard her voice.
She's still there. She's holding the camera.
Are you still there, Tara?
I'm still here.
So, and then again, it's not that our brokerage is struggling. No, our agent to production count is some of the best in our market. Mm-hmm. We're like 29%, 30% over our last year's numbers. We're outpacing the market. So it's not like the rising tide raises all ship, but it's not that we're like, oh no, we have to change. No, we're pursuing this growth opportunity.
Right.
And it's like I told you, I do believe if I waited to make this decision, in 2 years, I just said one of two things: best decision I ever made, or I should have made this 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the most surprising thing is when I spoke to my agents, I would probably say at least 5 of them said, I've looked at their model, it made sense to me, but I'm so loyal to you guys. I always want to be in your world.
Right.
And that's why I never made the decision. Yeah. He goes, this is the best of both worlds. And so it's like, wow.
It's relationships, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's relationships, not recruiting.
If you do it the right way. So,
right.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
8 years in the making.
Hey, guys.
I mean, yeah, listen, it's working. You know? I mean, I'm excited for the opportunity. I mean, to partners together, and the top of this will become a good friends in the last 8 years. That's amazing. I mean, after 8 years of hard work, try to recruit me.
6 years of hard work recruiting me, 2 years of
2 years
teaching
of
yourself
stuff.
from not recruiting me.
I mean, what's your goal? I mean, like, where we're gonna take the 11th team to?
You
what's the
know,
next level?
because I realized that the opportunity that I've kind of talked to all of my agents and what I'm hoping for them based on this model and what they do every day. One of the things that excited me is I see the goal that eXp has to grow to 500,000 agents, 50 countries, right? Which is at 85 is 415,000 agents. My personal goal, because I'm a big goal type person, that's, you know, my wife's a big goal person. That's how she's became 9th in the nation, like
Right.
9th in the nation. I was telling her the other day, I was like,
That's a big deal.
I was telling her the other day, I was like, sometimes I have questions and I forget that, like, oh yeah, my wife's 9th in the nation.
There's only 8.
There's only 8 other people with large teams in the nation, you know. I'm gonna off subject for a minute. I was thinking this morning because I was thinking about, you know, I like to think about my wife and brag on it a little bit.
And it's excited. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a big news. I mean, it's,
Well, when she was like a year and a half ago, USA Today did an article like 2020 agents to look, and this was like during the COVID when all markets were blowing up. Houses were selling like crazy, and it was like 20 agents to watch in 2021 or something like that. And she was in there. She was like top 10 or 11 or 12. She was somewhere in that top 10. But like I was looking at this list, I'm like, all of them had like TV shows. It was like Ryan Sharon. It was like the Altman brothers. And I'm like, you don't even have a TV show, babe. Look at you.
Do we need to get you a TV show, Tara?
Oh, our whole family works, and it'd be a drama for sure.
It would be a good TV show. I would watch it.
But I'm thinking about this, and so you say, where are they going? It's like, well, you know, we've done that because we pour into our clients. You know, our agents are, you know, and so going back to where eXp is going, you know, 500. That's 415,000 agents they want to grow. So my personal goal now is I want to help 10,000 people
Right.
find this, you know, and that's one of the reasons that we're, like I said, we're building the building. You know, we want to be able to support people with a training room and stuff like that. We want to be able to give back to our agents. You know, our model moving this over is, you know, it's an investment for us, all right? So yeah, so my goal, I want to help 10,000 people find it, not like in the sense of just doing what my agents are already doing. So basically, I want to support my agents as they're just having the natural conversations they have every day with their friends and family who get their license or are looking like, hey, I need, you know, the market shifted. How do I do this? How do I do that? Well, they're already telling their agents like, oh yeah, well we do these trainings. We do these trainings. We have 3-4 trainings a week. They're always available. Peter coaches, Sarah coaches one-on-one with people. You know, they're the best in the industry. They're available. And so I just want to be able to do that for all my agents and in that. You know,
that's awesome.
Now you're going to be able to do that at a larger scale. And I want to say that I appreciate you bringing that up because that's one of the things we hear all the time is, well, Micah, you guys got in early, right? We were agent number 333 8 years ago. But I think we just got started.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
and that's what the numbers show, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's, you know, we were talking and you said you were like frustrated because somebody told you, like, what's the new and shiny thing? And you were like, no, it was new and shiny when
8 years ago.
8 years ago. Now it's a proven model. You know, and I don't think it was ready for SE. Honestly, I told you, I think they were still figuring things out.
Yeah. It was like a rocket ship that was flying and we were still putting the pieces on.
I mean,
Just
honestly,
good for you.
8 years ago, we don't see these big numbers in revenue share. It's all about, all right, if you bring that money, if you get that money, that's how much you get. It's just number is a vision. And honestly, you have to be really patient and see the big picture. You know, how can you do it? I mean, now,
People are already doing it.
Everybody know eXp. Any agency you call, he know eXp.
And it's the thing like you're saying is like the company is sharing back to the agents. And I guess the way I looked at it is, because that's what we try to do with our team, is they recognize that like, hey, our company didn't grow because we did something here in Arizona or we did something here. You know,
Right.
You know, it's because our agents are talking out there. And well, there's revenue to be shared because agents out there are teaching other agents how to sell real estate, how to take care of the client. So it's like I said, revenue share. I think it's just for me. When I looked at it, it's like, wow, it's like being rewarded for what you already do. You know, there's
Compensation for contribution.
There's other models out there that have similar like it,
Right.
but I think it's, you know, the way Glenn put it together is he was an agent. I think I heard he's like one of the only agent CEO. This only
I heard
CEO.
the only CEO that was an agent.
He's an
first,
agent.
yeah.
That was an agent. So he constantly is still thinking from that agent-centric mentality, like what's the best thing for the agent?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Terry always talk about that with our agents. Like when they ask the question, like, well, trust in the decision I'm going to make is going to be in your favor. It's always going to be in your favor. And that's and so, like I said, when you talk about revenue share, it's really like the company that's like, even before they pay bills, they're like, thank you. You know, like, hey, we know that none of this income that EXP created was because we did something. We know you did it.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, they're paying in their cap, and then they're like, here you go, here's thank you for what you did. And I was like, okay, I respect that. Because people do come to the company. People came to my brokerage because I thought people came to my brokerage.
Every brokerage.
Every brokerage.
Yeah.
You're there because somebody talked to somebody. You know?
Absolutely.
Well, I think one of the best terms that I've heard is compensation for contribution.
Yep.
You know, it's like, you can look at it as recruiting, whatever, agent attraction, whatever you want to call it, but at the end of the day, like I said, if you go to a restaurant and you like it, you're going to tell your friends. It's the same thing.
And in business, if you don't recruit, you will never grow.
Yeah, you've got to find.
I mean, you have to recruit, you have to find the talent people, you have to find the right people,
The right partners.
the right partners to grow your business.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And who do you want to strategically be aligned with?
that's why I worked with you for 8 years. Because
We wanted to be aligned with you guys.
I mean, I think
We love you guys.
I think we're gonna take over. I mean, what you said, I want to help many people. I mean, the way I look at it, I mean, 8 years ago, we are almost open our own brokerage. But honestly, it's gonna be just about me and Micah. You're gonna see our sign everywhere whatsoever. It's not for the agents.
We had the office space. We were
We
ready
have
to
the
go.
office
Like,
space,
I don't know
we
if you
have
know
the
that
real
story.
estate.
Yeah.
You know, we almost open our own brokerage. But the question went through, all right, if I open my own brokerage, how I can compete with KW, Remax, Century 21, all this brokerage, whatever, all right? It's going to cost a lot of money. I can do it. We have the money, we have the real estate, we can do it. But it's going to take a lot of time. And second piece, it's like what I'm going to offer to you to come to my brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
And the other piece is how I can keep you my brokerage.
The keeping is big.
That's the
Right,
keeping
retention.
the agents and the retention. You know, it's hard when you build a team, you start having buyer agents, you spend a lot of money and time in coaching these agents, and what we find out, when they start learn how to sell real estate by themselves, they will leave.
Yep, that's why
Right.
we created that independent brokerage.
Exactly.
So we train them and educate them.
They want to start
We
their
had,
own
we,
business.
we had to find a place for them, and then
Right.
we have agents that have multiple teams. So we have several agents that have their own teams. But yeah,
Yeah.
they're
They want to start their own business, they're
Yeah.
going to do the same thing. And then we end up like, probably not in the good term, because I'm not going to be happy about it. You spend a lot of time and money to help you to grow your business. The minute you get there, you're going to leave. And this is, for us, it's a big deal. And this is what I like about EXP. All right, this means if I sponsor this buyer agent and I help him to grow, I want him to grow.
Right.
Because he's still under my rough share, whatever.
the company's going to continue to reward you for what you did.
Exactly.
And if they continue to grow their business bigger, the company's still going to reward you for the
Right.
work you did.
Exactly. Now we are more than happy just to help these agents to grow their business, because if you look at when the end, we both get benefited.
And I'm glad you talked about like big brokerages and could you compete, and that was actually one of the final like 0.5% that pushed me over was I do believe the market is changing.
It
You know,
is.
I've had strategic conversations with people. There are large companies that, in my opinion, are not agent-centric. They might say they're agent-centric,
Right.
but they're trying to gobble up the market. They're trying to change the market. They're trying to adjust it. And I don't think it's in the benefit of the consumer. I don't think it's in the benefit of the agent. I think it's in the benefit of the investors and shareholders of those companies.
100%.
And part of it was, I want to be part of a behemoth that I know is agent-focused.
Right.
So when when Godzilla starts fighting King Kong, yeah, I don't want to be one of the people screaming from the hills. You know,
Right.
I want to be Godzilla. You know.
And it goes back to when EXP was founded, which is 13 years ago this month, actually. So we have iHeart EXP Community Day tomorrow, which is our EXP's birthday. But it goes back to Glenn didn't do this big IPO and raise funds and have all these investors. He wanted it to be primarily agent owned. You know, it's owned by the board, the leadership, agents, because otherwise you're answering to a bunch of investors, which, you know, there are copycat companies that you've got to, you know, answer to investors and not necessarily always put agents first. So.
Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery.
Exactly. So but the cool thing about eXp, it was first to market, right?
Yep.
With this model, it's not a brand new company, 13 years to the month.
Mm-hmm.
And again, to each their own, but you know, from what I've seen, it's been life-changing for a lot of people.
Well, like I said, I've studied tons of models and different brokerages. You know, I read it constantly. So that was, like I said, the decision was a focus on my agents, and then as it went through, all the different decisions came together. So, but I don't want to take up too much of people. I think we've kept people for 30 minutes with Gulf State. I appreciate it. But again, just want to take this opportunity to put it out there, control the narrative so nobody can make up their own stories of why.
And everybody heard it.
Everyone heard
It's
it.
out there.
Yep.
Sarah and Peter, they still together.
Sarah and I are still married, always. So someone asked me the other day, they said, how long have you been married? I said, I've always been married. I was like, I started dating when we were 15. I don't know anything before her. So.
But what would you think about people watching us and live? If that's okay if they reach out to you, like they ask you questions.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions.
Yeah, people have questions and they just want to like, hey, what, you know, show me the numbers or show, you know, what, curiosity. Not just out of curiosity because, you know, like I said, I've had. I did delete it later, but I think you guys got calls about it because I was so tired of EXP people. Like, hello, is Peter Levinson available? This is Peter. Are you still in real estate? Like, I'm not egotistical,
Seriously?
but like, Google me.
Simple Google would tell
Like,
you.
Google me. Like, I mean, you'll at least find my wife and be like, do you know Tara? At least like, you'll know.
Is there a connection there?
Yeah, so I'm just like, so I was just like, and so I posted like, hey, you know,
Right.
stop having your telemarketers call me. I need to stop getting calls.
Right.
So I don't know if y'all have like an EXP like, don't call Peter, he's crazy.
Well, not to my knowledge, but unfortunately, sometimes.
Or he's like, hey, I can't even talk to him about it.
If I can't talk to him, you guys can't. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, so, but yes, if anybody is curious, yeah, I would love to share it. Like that's.
No
you know,
pressure by any means, just answer
No,
questions.
because yeah, it's you know, more than likely they've heard it. And a few people I did talk to, even people on my team were like, well, I heard it, but somehow the way you dug into it, you seem to understand it like better than anyone I've talked to. And nothing against anyone I've spoken to.
Right. You did a great presentation.
Yeah, actually, I showed you. I was like, hey, so you were like, why did you join? I said, let me show you why I joined.
You just go start.
I thought of PowerPoint.
He's like, well, as a matter of fact, I have it right here.
Yeah, flow chart, pie charts, flow. Here's how the company makes money. This is how much the company is making. You know, on the statistically, they're doing okay.
There's money in the bank.
There's
right?
money in the
There's
bank,
no
right?
debt.
Which is what, you know.
Publicly traded company, so it's all out there.
Yes, in speaker. So yeah, so obviously if anyone has any questions, I'd love to talk offline. If you're just curious for your own sake, then yeah. And again, I just want to say like this is not a disparagement against any other brokerage that we've been a part of or independent brokers out there. This was not a decision that I made lightly. It was a decision I dove in. So if anyone's curious of like what my thoughts were on it, and if you want to see my cool flow chart,
It is a good flow chart.
what convinced me, or how I convinced myself, I guess.
Oh, you can share my presentation too.
No. If y'all want to see a worse presentation, I have a napkin.
From 6 years ago.
Like 6 years ago. I said, I'm saving this as the worst presentation of a brokerage I've
But
ever
hey,
seen.
in the end, it's working.
And you get the napkin, which we need to frame that napkin.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. If anybody is curious, please give me a call. I don't mind. Yeah, I got lunch available for sure, or coffee. I love coffee. I haven't had coffee today yet. So.
Well, I just want to say we're excited, for this strategic partnership to see you guys flourish and more importantly have a bigger impact than what you guys have already done. So we know what you've already done, and I think this is going to help so many other people. Yeah.
This is the beginning of the story. So,
Absolutely.
of a new chapter.